so your name is John Camara. John E. Camara. And what was your, when you left the military, what was your final rank?
Airman first class.
First class.
I think they call it something different now. It was Airman first class at the time.
Airman first class.
3 stripes.
3 stripes. Now, let me ask you this. You said that you joined first, even though you were the youngest. Why did you join the service? Did you do it on your own, or?
Yeah, I had a plan. You know, I thought of it when I was in high school, my senior year, that I was going to go in the Air Force when I get out of high school. So a month to the day I graduated, I enlisted.
And did you, was there a specific reason why you were doing it, or you just said, I wanted to serve my country, or was it just like, you know what,
Well,
I'm not really sure what I want to do with my life?
Exactly, that's about it. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I figured it's a good place to find out, you know, and maybe grow up too. The service does help you. Most of the time, guys grow up.
Discipline. My grandfather always told me I needed more discipline.
My father used to tell me that, but I didn't listen.
And you know what? And I think the military now is changing it, because now they don't allow them to yell anymore like they used to. The drill instructors, they have to be nice now.
Oh yeah.
Because some of the other people, some of the newer recruits are complaining that it hurts their feelings a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that's
discipline
a little
hurts.
different. The day we get up, we went into basic training. I went up to Sampson Air Force Base in New York, which was, during the Second World War, was a training base for the Navy. And the first day we got there, we didn't have uniforms, anything. The guy, they call them DIs in the other service, I was the flight chief. He lined us up in the wall. There was little rooms. You say, oh, you had a room. But there was 8 guys to a room about the size of a closet. And he lined up us in the wall and started reading the riot acts. Anybody doesn't think I'm King S, just step up and say so, because we were all shaking in our boots.
Sure, I knew. And how old were you?
I was 17.
17 when you joined.
I turned 18. I went in July and I turned 18 the next month. So
Okay, that's
basically,
great.
I was almost 18.
So you were 17 when you actually enlisted and were in service,
Yes.
technically, and you didn't turn 18 until a month later.
Right. My parents had to sign a paper.
Right, a waiver saying that it was okay that they gave you permission to do so.
They weren't going to sign it. So, well, I'm just going to go next month. This way I get a head start. So.
Okay, how did your family feel about your decision to join?
I don't think they were too crazy about it, but I was going to do it anyway. So, you know, I could go the next month without their signature. So, you know, they didn't have much choice. But, you know, like any parent, they don't want, they're a little afraid of what's ahead for the kid. You never know what's like these poor guys now.
Right.
You know, real bad stuff in Iraq.
So did you have a military occupational specialty when you were in? Did you focus on one particular job?
I was a clerk. At that time, they needed clerks, and everybody that went in was guys, you know, all around us, graduated at the same time, and they all went the same thing. There wasn't, you could put down 3 choices, but that didn't mean you were going to get. Now it's a little different.
And what exactly did a clerk do? What were your responsibilities?
Well, doing a lot of reports, and actually as a clerk typist, so that took in a lot. You know, you could work anywhere. You could work in supply as a clerk. I worked in the audit room. I did the morning report, which is figures on personnel, where they are, you know, leaves, and present, AWOL, whatever.
So keeping a record of where personnel were, so in case, you know, somebody needed to find somebody right away, you could say, look, Agent John.
They know how many people's in the outfit and where they are, you know, whether they're on leave or in the hospital or whatever. But I also worked in supply. Supply, you know, as a clerk. So you can, that AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, MOS in the Army, you could do a lot of stuff, you know. And I can tell you later on what I did when I got the career.
Okay. Well, now, sure. I mean, if you want to elaborate on it later, if you don't want to, you know, don't want to talk about, that's fine. So, where did you do your clerk duties? What part of the world? Which country?
Well, I went to school in Warrensburg, Missouri. I went to Central Missouri State College. They put us in a garage there. Sounds great going to college. We were in this. It was literally, it was a garage. Anyway, after that, I went to San Antonio at Kelly Air Force Base, and we trained there for a year. When we got there in January 1952, they told us we were going to France. We were trained to go to France. That was a joke. So, and I guess we were supposed to, but then as things would evolve that year, we didn't know where we were going, and we ended up in Korea the next year.
So you thought you were going on to another training area, and after everything was said and done, you were actually shipped to Korea.
No, we were training in Texas.
Texas first.
To go to Korea, go wherever we were going. And my department was subsistence, which is handling and ordering all the food for the base. And that's what I was in, that division of the department, we're going to call it.
And then in the end, you had to go to Korea.
The whole bunch of us. We went as a whole wing.
Do you know how many men were there? How many in that group?
There was a wing, like 3,000.
Wow.
We went by ship from Corpus Christi, Texas, down through the Panama Canal and across. We spent 28 days, Christmas and New Year's on the boat.
It's a long boat ride.
It wasn't long.
Now people pay a lot of money to take those kind of cruises. You guys got it for free.
I don't even have it right. We had a typhoon Christmas Eve, and yeah.
Any injuries? Any?
Not that I know of.
Good.
It's pretty nasty out there. Big ocean.
So when you were in Korea, did you personally have any combat?
No.
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 You wait for that.
That's the thing. You know, people don't realize. I think the figure is like 4 or 5 men in the back for each guy on the field in combat. I think that's. I've read that somewhere. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's exact, but something like that. 4 or 5 people to get.
Well, there's a lot of information that has to be taken in.
Well, you know, the supply is all different, medical.
Sure.
You know, I mean, all these different things. So I was in a subsistence. We were a small group, and we would supply the food for the base. We had to go to Busan, and every day 2 trucks went over the mountain to Busan. It took about an hour ride, and a couple days a week they'd have convoys, they'd have more trucks, like 6 trucks. So I used to go as what we call shotgun. I had a carry rifle, carbine, and I was supposed to guard it, you know, in guard for the driver. And it was quite a ride up through the mountains. You go at night, no guardrails, you know.
Yeah, no, right on the edge of on the mountain trails there.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize at the time what was going on. I mean, I did, but I didn't think anything of it. Today I get a little nervous thinking about it.
I get nervous when I get by the guardrails, so
Yeah. But
I can't imagine.
I want to tell you a story about that. When I was in Texas, my cousin was stationed in Korea, and his brother told me to write him because he wanted to, you know, he was kind of lonesome there, and just to give him some mail. So my cousin worked in the same kind of job that I had. So I've been writing to him, and I'm saying, tell him how we're going to France. And then things got cloudy, and we didn't know where we were going. I said, you know, I told him, I said, I might end up over there with you yet. Well, a year later, I'm in Korea picking up food. And it was cold one day, and I went to the office to get warm, and I seen his outfit up on the board. So I called him up, and so next day we met. So like a year later, after starting writing to him, here we are shaking hands in Busan, Korea. Then,
The world is a very small place, it seems.
yeah.
It's amazing when you run into people.
Yes, well, I knew he was there, but what was happening, we would come in early to get pick up our stuff, and he would come in as we were leaving, so we were just missing each other. But we did have a couple reunions while I was in Korea. I got to go to his place, and he came to my place one day.
Did that make you feel better, being able to actually talk to somebody that you knew? I mean, versus the guys that you go through boot camp with.
Yeah.
You know, I know you get, you know, there's a certain amount of trust you put in them, and they become your family. But how big is it? How big of a change was it for you, or how did it make you feel?
That was
it
great
better?
to see somebody from home, and especially
Halfway around the world.
relative. You know, it was awesome.
Well, that's good.
To see that. Yeah, it was great. You know, I got to, like I said, I got to go to his place overnight. He just came down to my place for the afternoon. He got a Jeep and his buddy and came down. It was great. You know, you do get lonesome. You have your buddies, but to see somebody from home was great. Really not.
Let me ask you this. Let's see. During the Korean War, I know that you guys had families. Did you meet anybody there, either in your platoon, somebody during boot camp, somebody you were stationed with, that you still keep in contact with? By phone?
Yes,
letter?
yeah. One of my buddies from in fact, we had concerts, and he was bunk next to me. We knew each other from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And we see each other from time to time. We go to Town Spa or
I love Town Spa.
yeah,
Pizza.
or the roast beef place there, Merrimack's, someplace to eat once in a while. We get together.
So you guys, you're still in touch after meeting each other in Texas, and how many years has that been?
52, 28, 54 years. But I had two other buddies that both died, and one was from Brockton. I met him when I was in Korea, and then I got shipped to Japan, and I met this guy from Brockton, who I ended up being his best man and godfather to two of his kids, but he passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
And I had another one, he was only like 44 when he died. And then I had another very good buddy from North Andover who was living in Methuen when he died. So I lost two real close friends.
And you still have one close friend still?
Yeah, I have another one in Pennsylvania. He used to hang around with me and the guy from Brockton. And we were like three brothers over in Japan. We did everything together for about 6 months, but we became. The other guy in Pennsylvania, he was from the Bronx originally, and his health isn't that great now, so he doesn't come up like he used to. He used to come up here in the wind, 6-hour drive. But it's hard for him to do that now. But we keep in touch.
Well, it's good to have. I mean, I'm glad that you were able to keep in touch with some of those, because I know that I can't imagine what it was like to, first of all, feel like, I feel a little empty because I don't have anyone close by. Then you meet, you see your cousin, and then you get these friendships that last longer than some people are even going to live. So.
Yeah, so.
Let me see here. Do you have any, when you were in Korea, do you still have any bad feelings about what was going on there? Were there things that you didn't really like, or a turnout that you think things could have gone differently, or?
No, see, our job was different. I think if I was in combat, maybe I'd see it different. I believe we were doing right. And it was the first stand taken against communism.
Mm-hmm.
The first time the world got, like the UN got together and they said this is enough, and they came in and, tried to stop the war was the first step. And look, it took a long time, but finally it happened, right, with the Berlin Wall and all the rest of it. So it was. I'm a fairly patriotic person, so I always thought we were doing the right thing. Even if it is war. I don't
do what you have to do.
Yeah. People don't understand that.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm just curious. How long were you in the service before you came back home?
Well,
When you were done?
I spent 4 years.
So after the 4 years, now you went into the military. When you come out after 4 years, people knew that you fought in Korea. Did you have people who were glad that you fought? Were there people who were upset that you went? I mean, I'm just...
No, we didn't encounter that at that time. It was different than Vietnam, You went away and people didn't even know you were gone half the time, unless they were, like my class reunion, maybe I missed a class reunion or something, but just your family and close friends, but it wasn't like today,
There definitely is a lot of opposition these days, and I've seen, I was very young during the middle of the Vietnam War, so you can see a lot more protests, and they didn't have that as much back then, or any back then.
I'm sure there was someplace, but I never encountered any of that. If they said something to me, I would have just walked away.
Well, I want to tell you personally that I appreciate both of you and anybody in the armed service for going and defending our country and what we believe in to try to keep us as free as possible.
Well,
I try to join the military, and I have a little bit of a donut problem.
Oh,
But my best friend is in the military, and I always commend him, my neighbors, and I don't think that anyone in the military, men, women, they never get the thanks from anybody that they should. And I just want to say to you that I thank you. So
thank you.
John, thank you very much for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guess who's up next?
He has a little story to tell later about us, so.
Well, I'm curious because I've seen some photos of you guys, and I'm really curious how you guys are on other sides of the world and how you come together.
What prompted you to join the service? Now, he joined first. How long after was it that you joined?
A year and a half.
No, 6 months maybe. You were in February 52, yeah.
Somebody, Uncle Sam said he wanted me. I didn't volunteer. But I did try to volunteer. When I was in grammar school, myself and 3 guys, Jack Buckley and Bob Coleman, we said we were going to join the Marine Corps when we get out of high school, but we never did. I went to work for a year, and then I went to school at Bentley's accounting. And halfway through that, Uncle Sam said he wanted me. So you were drafted to go in the Army. I said, oh, Christ, I got to get out of here. So I ran down to the Marine Corps recruit people, and they wouldn't take me because I was in my draft notice. So I got drafted, and I left on February 29th. Went to Boston Army base, and after the physical, they said, well, okay, we need, I don't know, 10 or 12 guys to go in the Marine Corps. I'm going to ask for volunteers, take 12 volunteers. If we don't have enough, we're going to pick them. So one of the guys, Bobby Coleman, was with me. Jack Buckley had a heart problem, he couldn't make it. He made the military. So when they said Marine Corps, I raised my hand. So Bobby Coleman was standing, aren't you coming with me? Not me, he said. I said, oh boy, I went anyhow. So I went to Paris Island. As I told you before, it was a good experience because I'd never been out of Southeastern before. And he knows Southeastern, he'd been beyond Southeastern in his lifetime. And but it was different. You get to meet guys. I met guys from this area that went with me. In fact, I knew one guy because he married a girl that was in my class. And after that, we came back up to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And then I went home for 10 days. And I told you before, I didn't know where the hell I was going. He said, okay, you got to leave, go. So I went. Got on a bus. I wouldn't get off the bus till we got to Boston. So then I go back, and 10 months later, I went home for Christmas. And when I come back to, you're going to Korea? I said, I am, yeah. So they send me home again for leave, and I go home, and I fly out to California. And they used to have replacement troops go over. One group come over, and another one back. I thought it was going in April. No, in March, because I was there early February. For some reason, I got put in another outfit, and I didn't get over there till May. The war was still going. I was not a fighter, which was a good thing. I was in communications. I worked in the message center, where messages came in over teletype. We took them and we typed them onto sheets or whatever, and we passed them over somewhere, crypt, somewhere encoded. Somebody had to decode them. And then that's what I did in Korea. It was a good place to be. You know, the first thing I can remember coming off the landing lodge, the shore, and the smell of the country was something to behold. But I guess we get to get used to it after a while, because when I left it didn't smell anymore. But I stayed there. I got there May 3rd, and then I just had a job to do, and I used to work nights in the message center. So we did revolving shifts. Some were during the day, some were nights, some in the afternoon. But after a while, you were eligible for R&R, rest of relaxation, which was over in Japan. They gave you 5 days. So he was over in Japan, so I don't know whether I spoke to my officer or we spoke to each other. to see if I could go with me, and I said, yeah. So instead of, they gave me TDY orders, which means that I'm assigned to his outfit now. And I can go over there. I flew over into the marine planes from Seoul to Chicago, I think it was, in Japan. Then I got there and I switched to an Air Force plane because he was up in Iwakuni, which was not too far from Hiroshima, where the bomb was in 1945. Mm-hmm. He went up to see it. I never saw it. He was going to go. I never did. But anyhow, I was there during my birthday, which was November 18th. And so it was Christmas time, so we decided to go shopping. So we shopped. There was 10 in my family, brothers and sisters.
Big family.
11. One was, my oldest brother died when he was a kid. So we went shopping for all 10 of us, all the 8 that were at home. And I had a girlfriend, my mother and father, my aunt and uncle, and
the list goes on.
And that was it. We packed, put it in a box, and we shipped it home. And my mother got it sometime in December. She hid it. She didn't tell anybody about it because Christmas Eve was our house. It was after midnight mass. Everybody went to my house, our house, and she brought out the box and opened it up. And my sisters, who were young at the time, the 3 of them, we sent them pajamas and a little bathrobe, and I'm sure they still have them today. They used to wear them.
Yeah, the wooden shoes, we sent wooden shoes.
They used to wear them every Christmas. Now they don't fit them. But I'm sure they still have them. And so anyhow, I never saw combat. I used to hear the guns going off, and I think I can remember, I don't think I'll ever forget coming in Korea at nighttime. I don't know, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. It was dark as hell. And you could see in the distance the guns, the artillery going off, lighting up the sky. And I said, please don't point me over here, because I don't know how close I was. Probably couldn't hit me anyhow. Today they could, but finally we got there, and to get off that ship, you couldn't go into shore because there's no port there, a pier. So they had a floating pier that you walked onto, and then into a landing barge, and they took you into shore. I thought I was going to die there because I was not that big a person. And I'm at the beginning of the landing barge, and everybody's pushing and shoving. And we finally got to shore, and then that's when I got the smell of Korea. And we stayed there 3 days before. I don't know what the hell that was for. They get you acclimated, and then they send you up to your outfit. And I moved 2 or 3 times while I was there. I was there for 10 months, I think it was. I never saw any combat, but I was scared many a day. I'd be out on guard duty, and it was dark. During the day, if you had the early shift, it wasn't so bad because you get off at, I think, 10 o'clock. If you had the 6 to 2, that was the bad one because they had generators going and the lights were all over the place, and the tent set lights and all that. But at 11 o'clock, so they shut those generators off. Everything was dark, and you walked around there by yourself. And I used to think if somebody came up behind me and tried to rob me or kill me, they couldn't. In fact, I was out on guard duty one day. We had tents that had, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 people in it, I think it was. And there was an opening, it was just a tent, and there was a doorway there, and there was a bunk on that side, one on this side, and somebody came in that tent that night and stole clothes that we had hung on the wall, on the bulkhead with nails on them, with our clothes, and the guy that was sitting on that end, they pulled out a locker that we had our things in, out from under him.
Really?
Yeah, and he never woke up. And you say to yourself, if anybody had woke up, you know, who the hell were there? I think they were friendly Koreans because the other guys went around. But they were after clothes and whatever. I used to say to myself, we'd try to get a new pair of socks, a pair of pants, or whatever. They didn't have any, because the Koreans were walking around in them. Even the women had them. So anyhow, as I say, when I went over to Korea, I was over there about 6 or 7 days, and I decided to come home, because I was getting out in February, and now it's getting to be January, and I say, well, how are we getting out of here? There's no sign of anybody leaving. Hey, maybe we're going to fly home. It'll be a lot easier. Well, I left on January 26th. I think my picture's up there somewhere, standing up there. January 26th, 1954, and it was cold. We slept in a tent. I don't think it had any heat in it. And I jumped in a sleeping bag, clothes and all. Freeze, oh, was it cold. When I got aboard ship, it was nice and warm. And to this day, I promised myself, there was many a day that was cold in the 2 years I was there. I promised myself I'd never complain about the heat again. And I don't care how hot it gets. It's nothing worse than being cold. Your bones ache, and it's really something. So I got out, I got there on 26th of January. We landed in Treasure Island, California, Valentine's Day, February 14th. You know, it's not, was there 80 Marines on the ship. We thought we were coming home alone with that big ship. That was it. We went to Japan, picked up a troop of army men, probably 2,000 or 3,000, brought them to Japan, to Korea, to Busan, dropped them off, and loaded up with with another army group going home. Then we came home. So I volunteered for the laundry because it was warm and I could wash my clothes there. And as I say, we landed in Japan, in Treasure Island, California, February 14, 1954. 5 days later, I was out. There I was in Oakland, California. My sister was getting married February 20th. For some reason, they used to get married at 9 o'clock in our church. For some reason, she made it 10 o'clock. I landed in Boston at 9 o'clock in the morning. My sister and her husband picked me up in Boston, brought me home. I got to my house just at 10 o'clock. They were waiting for me to go to church, so I just walked in the house and back out. We went to church, and so those were two eventful things that I had in my...
How long were you in the mill? How long?
2 years.
Yours were 2 and yours was 4?
Yeah, because I joined, he was drafted.
Now, did that make a difference? I mean, if you volunteered, was your tour in the military longer?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
Yeah, Air Force was 4, Marines were 3. If I had joined, I would have been 3 years, and I tried to. And the Army, I think, had 3-year enlistments also.
And you guys were separated for a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you eventually met up in Japan?
Japan, yeah.
And so how far away were you guys?
Oh, yeah, I was in Korea and he was in Japan. I don't know how far that
I was down in southern Honshu. I don't know where it's...
I forget what the heck the plane ride was over to Japan. The other thing about, I was going to meet him in Japan, and as I said, I flew over on a Marine helicopter, a Marine plane, and I had to switch over to the Air Force plane to go up where he was. So it was a Friday night, we're walking out, and it's dark, walking out of the plane, and I heard 2 guys in front of me say, you know, today's Friday the 13th. I said, oh, for Christ's sake, shut up. I've been on the plane 3 times, I think, in my life. So we get on the plane, and they taxied out to the runway. And we stayed there for a while, and then all of a sudden they said, there's something wrong with the plane. We went back, taxied back.
Nobody likes to hear that.
No. And we took off later. Whether it was the same plane or not, I don't know. But all I know, it was Saturday morning now. It wasn't Friday anymore.
I remember you said that you were a little, again, you're away from home for the first time. You don't really know a lot of people. You get to see your cousin. I mean, when you guys found out that you were going to see each other, I mean, I mean, that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been apart before you met up again? A couple of years?
No.
No, because I came home on leave before I went overseas,
Mm-hmm.
and he was stationed in, where were you, Paris Island?
North
No,
Carolina.
North Carolina. Is that Paris Island?
No.
No, June. And
That was.
he came home on a weekend to see me. Before
When
I
you
left.
go, 51? No.
December 50,
52.
December 50, we left Corpus Christi.
And how long had it been since you guys saw each other and
Oh,
saw each other in Japan?
Well, no, because we met at home.
And then at home.
Home in the
So it
summer.
wasn't, so it wasn't a really big, it wasn't a long time?
No,
You guys had
6
a
or
break
8
in
months.
between.
6 or 8 months.
Okay, good, good.
I left in, I was home.
Oh, yeah, when we
It was
talked.
about a year.
A year?
About a year.
Yeah, because you left,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause that.
It was about a year, because he came over.
Probably more than that, because you're in the summertime or something going, when you left.
No, it was in the fall. I came home in the summer on a regular leave, and I got back, and about 2 months later, they gave us another leave because we were going overseas. But we had no idea where we were going. Not till we were on the ship. Once we went through the Panama Canal, and we drove up, we rode up the coast, and then we took a left turn heading for the Far East, and then...
You know, I used to think that when we were there, it was an ordeal to be there and you want to go home and all that. But I look back now, it was a good part of my life. There were some rough times, but overall it was a good experience. And anybody who is in the military will tell you that. And you guys don't make it, you'll have missed something. I really mean that. It means so much to me that today, I told you, it's the 54th year that I've been doing Veterans Day Parade. There's only one missed, the day I get married. And I do the same thing Memorial Day, 54 years ago. And one thing I always tell people was that when I was a kid, we used to live up the street, and the parade used to go by our house. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I used to say to myself, boy, I hope someday I can be in the parade. I get in it now, I can't get out of it, you know? Now I run the thing.
Can't watch out what you ask for, you wish for, you get it all the time.
People always ask me that, you know, why do you march, you know? I said, well, you know, if you look at the tablet down there, the tablets down on Pond Street, the guys with the stars next to them, if they had a choice, if somebody told them you can either die or go home, but if you go home, you have to march every Memorial Day, you know, every parade. What do you think they would do? So I do it for those guys who can't. I had a next door neighbor, 2 neighbors that are on that honor roll, and I kind of do it for them and the rest of the guys. It's not for me. Don't get killed, that's, you know, not me. Just, somebody has to do it, and they can't do it. You know damn well they would have done it if given the choice.
I used to think that me going in the military was no big deal. But you know, I've changed my mind. It was a big deal. And I'm glad I did it. When I can still, I didn't have it today. When I hear the national anthem, I can still bring tears to my eyes, and it makes you feel 10 feet tall. And they say, I'll never begrudge the time I spent in the military, in the Marine Corps. I'm proud of it, and that's why I do what I do.
You would recommend to people today to...
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wouldn't like to see it go to Iraq, but hopefully that will be over shortly. But the military service is really something to appreciate. You meet so many guys, especially if it's peacetime. John will have more to tell you about this stuff.
You get to meet, you know, like, we came from this little dinky town of 5,000, and, you know, I think, for an example, there was no, you know, I think there was one black girl in the school. So when you go in the service, you meet all different types of people from the South to the West, black, white, Asian, everything, you know, and you're all brothers. You know, it's your family. It becomes your family, you know. It's so, it's different, you know, it's really nice.
Let me ask you about that, because, you know, I know that racism is a huge thing wherever you go. Back then, today, did it change the way that you thought about things by meeting people from different backgrounds or different colors and different ethnic backgrounds?
Yeah, you look at it different, you know, I mean, there was still a little separation, you know, certain groups hung around with each other, but you worked together. It was different than in World War II where they were segregated.
Mm-hmm.
So we had everybody all mixed up together. So it was
I never saw races or anything ever done. I've never seen it in my lifetime, whether it be here, before I went in, or in the service. I never saw racism anywhere. And I don't believe in it. And we met a lot of black guys that were nice guys. There was some bad white guys. But as far as seeing races coming out, I never saw it.
Gentlemen, I just have to say, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with us today. I really do.
my pleasure.
It was very nice meeting you, and I'd like to talk with you gentlemen again some other time. I'd like to hear some more.
Thank you
All
for your
right.
time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Have a
it.
good one.
You too. Enjoy. Have a good day.